Afro-Asian Literature. We are going to tackle about Japanese literature and Indian literature. First, we have Japanese literature. The Japanese flag is made up of a red circle, symbolizing the sun, against a white background. It is known as the Hinomaru in Japanese, meaning circle of the sun. Because Japan lies at the far west of the Pacific Ocean, the sunrise over the sea to the east is a spectacular sight. That image is the inspiration for the design of the flag. According to the ancient and heraldic traditions, much symbolism is associated with the colors. The colors on the Japanese flag represent the following: white, peace and honesty; red, hardiness, bravery, strength, and valor. The name Japan was derived from a Chinese term, "Jipen", which means sun origin. The government, technology, literature, and culture were influenced by China and mainland Asia. Its literary heritage, just like China, displayed the country's literary prestige. Japan was able to produce literary geniuses which include Sei Shonagon, Murasaki Shikibu, Yoshida Kenko, Basho, Motokiyo Zimi, Lu Jun, Yasunari Kawabata, etc. This chapter discloses some of the country's worldly noted literary pieces authored by the writers previously mentioned. Japan is a chain of islands 2,500 miles long, sprawling crescent-like off the eastern coast of Asia. There are 4,233 islands, in all of which Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku are the main ones comprising Japan proper. The history of Japan was divided into different periods: Archaic period, Nara period, Heian period, Kamakura period, Muromachi period. Archaic period. Jimmu was the first emperor. The early Japanese used to have reverence for the spirit called kami. This belief gradually grew in a state religion, Shinto, which means the way of the gods. Prince Shotoku, known as the father of Japanese culture, lived in this period. He established Buddhism, Confucian bureaucracy, and Chinese sciences. There were no significant events in literature during this period, except for the Chinese script which was brought to Japan by Wani. This is the picture of Jimmu, and he was the first Japanese emperor. And this is the picture of Prince Shotoku, known as the father of Japanese culture, lived in this period. Nara period. The Tempyo or Golden Age of Buddhist Japanese. It adopted some foreign influences: Chinese on politics, Buddhist on art and religion, and Korea on education. The famous literary works of the period are Tanka and Naga, Uta, short and long poems, Kojiki, records of ancient matters containing 111 poems in Chinese characters representing Japanese words, Nihongi, early history written in Chinese containing 132 poems, Manyo Shu, greatest of early anthologies containing more than 4,000 poems by Hitomaro, Akahito, and others. Heian period. The name originated from the capital now called Kyoto. This was period of peace, prosperity, aesthetic, refinement, artificial, manners, and the decline of Chinese influences. Some literary figures are as follows. Tsurayuki wrote Kokinshu, Anthology of Ancient and Modern Poetry, and Tosa Diary. Lady Komachi and Narihara, outstanding authors. Ise Monogatari and Taketori Monogatari, early prose fiction. Murasaki Shikibu wrote The Tale of Genji, the Japanese greatest work of fiction. Kamakura period. The new government was imposed with the shoguns dictating the emperors. Feudalism and Bushido, way of the horse and the bow, were adopted by samurai or warriors supported by Zen Buddhism. On the other hand, arts of picture, scroll, ceramics, tea drinking, and architecture flourished. The famous literary figures of this period are Kamo no Chomei, Hojoki An Account of Hermit Life, Heike Monogatari, Historical War Tales of Taira Clan, Yoshida Kento, Grasses of Idleness. Muromachi period. This was a period of conflict, feudal unrest, flock of warriors to cities, and rise of commerce supported by Buddhist monasteries. Education and arts flourished. This was considered the dark age of Japanese literature. As a result, there were no famous authors and works recorded except for the development of the no drama, which was initiated and developed by Kwanami and Simi, his son. Modern age 1603 to present. During the Tokugawa period, strong feudal rules were implemented while the exclusion policy against Europeans, suppressions of Christianity, decline of Buddhism, and rise of Confucianism were witnessed. In the field of literature, kabuki, a popular theatre, and yorori, a puppet stage, were introduced. Some popular authors of this period are Saikaku, popular novelist; Basho, most famous haiku poet; Chikamatsu Monzemon, leading dramatist of Japan, often called Shakespeare of Japan; Ija, revived haiku poems; Bakin, last great novelist; Masaoka Shiki, the father of modern haiku. Japanese literature is divided into four literary forms, namely kabuki, traditional theatrical arts, also known for its male impersonators called onnagata, portraying the female parts. No plays or drama, introduced by Simi Motokiyo in his Kyotsugu Kansami. This is a highly aristocratic form of art which requires long years of training from its actors. It is a highly conventional, non-realistic dramatic form which involves spiritual exercise and discipline. Tanka, a 31-syllable poem and said to be the origin of haiku. Haiku, a 17-syllable poem which is divided to 5, 7, 5-syllable phrases. And now, we are going to tackle about Indian literature. Reading Indian literature is like going on a great adventure, the kind that can make one sit on the edge of his seat and develop a consuming passion toward most grippingly dramatic moments from the Sanskrit classics. Geographical and historical background: Himalayan mountain wall, Indo-Gangetic plain, desert region, southern peninsula. It is the seventh largest country in the world in the land area. According to general Indian legend, the Aryans arrived in North India somewhere from Iran and southern Russia at around 1500 BC. Before the Aryans, the Dravidians people resided in India. The Dravidians were the majority population across the Indian subcontinent before the second millennium. The evidence of early Dravidians comes from studying the Indo-Aryan culture, languages, and finding at many mounds, the preeminent of which are Mohenjo-daro in Punjab and Harappa in Larkana district in Sindh. Aryan was as its root a term that was used as a self-designation by Indo-Iranian people. The term was used by the Indo-Aryan people of the Vedic period in India as an ethnic label for themselves, and later referred to the noble class as well as the geographic region known as Aryavarta, where Indo-Aryan culture is based. The Vedic age is the heroic age of ancient Indian civilization. It is also the formative period when the basic foundation of Indian civilization were laid down. These include the emergence of early Hinduism as the foundational religion of India, and the social or religious phenomenon known as caste. The Vedas. The Aryans were a people from Central Asia who spoke an Indo-European language. They brought with them into India a religion based on the worship of many gods and goddesses. This ancient religion is depicted in collection of oral poetry and prose, hymns, prayers, chants, spells, and commentaries, known as the Vedas. The four Vedas. First, we have Rig Veda, also known as the Veda of Stanzas, an anthology of 1028 hymns in praise of various gods. The most notable single poem is the Creation Hymn. Second, we have Sama, Veda or Book of Chants. It consists principally of liturgies, of which most are repetitions of hymns in Rig Veda. Third, we have Yajur Veda. It's a compound Sanskrit word composed of Yahus and Veda. Monair Williams translates Yahus as religious reverence, veneration, worship, sacrifice, a sacrificial prayer, formula, particularly mantras muttered in a peculiar manner at sacrifice. Yajur Veda known as knowledge of the sacrificial formulas for liturgy. The modern period. Lastly, we have the modern period of Indian literature began in the 18th century with the colonization of India by British. The influence of the early Sanskrit classics could still be seen in the modern novels, poetry, and drama that were being reshaped by the Western political ideas and literary styles. The political activities of Mahatma Gandhi and new ideologies coming from Europe, particularly socialism and Marxism. Mahatma Gandhi, born October 2, 1869, died January 30, 1948. He was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, and political ethicist. He was the leader of India's non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule and in turn inspire movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. This is the examples of quotes of him. And lastly, we have prominent Indian author. He was India's greatest modern poet and the most creative genius of Indian Renaissance. Besides poetry, Tagore wrote songs, both the words and the melodies, short stories, novels, plays, in both prose and verse. He is Rabindranath Tagore. Thank you.